Welcome to the GSMC Pets Podcast, the show that caters to pet lovers of all kinds. We'll talk about pets on social media, pets doing amazing things, and how to take care of the pets in your life. Whether your pet is a dog, a cat, a llama, hamster, reptile, or something more exotic, you'll find educational and entertaining information on the GSMC Pets Podcast.
Thank you for tuning in to the GSMC Pets Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Samantha Melvin, and I don't know about you guys, but I am extremely suffering from cabin fever right now. It's ridiculous. So, naturally, I turned to music. So, I decided, why don't we combine music and pets and see what we get? And here's the list that I came up with, and it's 5 songs. So there is Ol' Red by Blake Shelton. There is How Much Is That Doggy in the Window, which is a kind of a universal song that people of all kinds sing. I mean, I remember my little sister singing it in choir, and it was never really accredited to anyone, but, I could probably, find more information on that if you guys would like. And then I'm going to talk about Cracker Jack by Dolly Parton. It's a very sweet song. And a favorite during the holiday season is I Want a Hippopotamus for Christmas. And then we'll close the list with Delilah, a song by Queen. And then, we'll wrap things up with a great story of escape. And I'll leave it there for you guys. So let's get started. Well, let's go ahead and talk about this song, Ol' Red. And we can already tell just by the name of the song that it's going to be about a pet, because, well, unless it's talking about it like an older good old boy, but it is about a pet, and it is basically kind of like a love song for dogs in a way, but it's a good narrative story to it, and it's just kind of a special song. It was originally recorded by George Jones in 1990, and then Kenny Rogers even made his own cover in 1993. So there's something good going on about this song. It sounds like it really captures the attention of the audience, right? So then, in his self-titled debut album, Blake Shelton actually did another cover of this song. And that was like 2001, 2002. So basically when I was still a kid. Not diapers, though. But it's reached the top, it was like in the top 20 hit on the U.S. Billboard Hot Country Songs, and that peaked at like number 14. So it was a very well received and very heavily requested song. It actually became like Blake Shelton's signature song, you could say. But what is the story? Well, you are going to be in a ride for your life. It's going to have like crime and love and Blake Shelton being a prisoner and more love that involves dogs, little puppies, all that kind of stuff. But the narrator is a prisoner at a prison farm, and he's serving like 99 years for, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. It's not stated in the song, but we can presume, based on the 99-year sentence, that he probably killed his wife and her lover when he caught them, in the act, basically. So it's either way domestic violence to the max, and he manages somehow, with good behavior and just a charming personality, apparently, he manages in 2 years to get the warden to allow him to care for their dog, their bloodhound, Ole Red. So some background on Ole Red. Well, he's a bloodhound. And he was also trained to basically chase after and capture, or at least lead the officers of the prison to the runaway. So he's had actually a lot of success in this. Like, he is known for his success in doing this. And, well, I find it odd that the warden of a prison would allow a prisoner to have that kind of access to a dog that's pretty important to the integrity of the farm, basically, is what I'm saying. Like, dogs are trainable. Who would have thought that a dog that was being constantly cared for by this prisoner would start learning some tricks or getting some new behaviors based on how the prisoner conditioned it. So, there's that. So, back to the story. The prisoner during this time period now decides, I think I could use this dog for my own benefit. Maybe I can escape. So, the prisoner contacts his cousin in Tennessee, and they come up with this plot to have a beautiful blue tick hound and keep her in the swamp, have her stick around there, and then they would the prisoner and Ole Red would basically do their daily rounds, but they'd always stop to meet up with the blue tick hound. When I say always, I mean like a routine. So, basically maybe like 4 days out of the week, they would go and meet up with the boo, and then after that they'd spend maybe 3 days, apart. And they would do this, and basically the hope of this for the cousin and the prisoner was that, these dogs will mate and they'll be puppies, and will also condition Ole Red to want to go to the puppies instead of chasing after the runaways, essentially. And so the day does come, and the dogs have been separated for quite a bit, and the second that the warden releases Ole Red, well, guess. I want you to guess. No, I'm not going to have you guess. So, basically what happens is the prisoner's going north, and then Ole Red, instead of following the trail, goes south to his boo and to his babies. So he leads, the officers on this, I wouldn't say wild goose chase, because, well, it was, Ole Red had his own plan in mind. But they find him, and they see the litter of red-haired blue ticks, and then basically the prisoner is free. And at the very end of the song, the last line is, "Love got me in here and love got me out." I have a problem with that, because he didn't kill the wife out of love. It was purely of jealousy, purely of being angry about the situation. There was no love in it. But who knows, maybe I'm just being a pessimist right now. Now, for the performance of the song, it was actually pretty good. It's, debuted at number 60 on the Billboard Hot Country Singles and Tracks for, basically when it came out. And then later on in the Billboard charts, we got to see it hit number 1 for Bubbling Under, hot singles, the Hot 100 singles. And that peaked number 1. And then at the year-end charts for 2002, it was hitting number 49 in the US Billboard Country Songs chart. So overall, very impressive, and it brings back a lot of memories of me just sitting at the couch and then dreaming of having a dog just like Ole Red. Good old Red. I actually made a schedule of when I could go and watch that music video, because years ago, you could actually go to a channel and it would be specifically for music videos. So I would go to this country music video channel, and they always had a set time where they would play a particular video. and until the song became like just became too old, and other more interesting songs came out, that kind of stuff. But I would spend a lot of time just waiting for that music video to play, and it was only for the dogs, and I could just look at that and be very content with that, because, well, kids like dogs, right? Or at least I think, these days kids like dogs. I mean, the response of my dogs, whenever I go out on walks is generally positive. So this is a timeless song to listen to. I mean, I honestly want to get into the original version and Kenny Rogers version of the song, because, hey, if you're gonna see a point in history, you better just kind of flip back a few pages to see what else is going on there. But I still can't believe that the warden allowed a prisoner to do that. And also, why in the world would they not neuter Old Red? Maybe they're trying to make sure he has the option of being bred to have another dog replace him eventually, I guess. But that seems like an unnecessary distraction for a dog that is supposed to be catching runaway prisoners, right? Or that's what I would think. I just don't know. It's a very strange song to me. Very entertaining song, honestly. And, centered around a pet that eventually found love and had puppies. I would say that this song is probably a lesson to some people. It's like, hey, don't trust your dog with strangers that could hurt you or cause harm to anyone at all. And then 2, get your dog spayed and, neutered, because you might run into some problems there, especially when you're not expecting it. But anyway, we're going to go to commercial, and we are going to then talk about this next song, which I imagine some people are quite familiar with, and it's called How Much Is That Doggy in the Window? So, we'll be back after this commercial break.
Are you tired of the same old news? Are you sick of the seemingly endless political spin and negativity? The GSMC America Still Beautiful podcast is a weekly news podcast covering all the top positive and uplifting news stories. We cover stories that will inspire, uplift, and remind you of the good in the world. Tune into the Golden State Media Concepts America Still Beautiful podcast to get all the great and positive news stories of today. Download the GSMC America Still Beautiful podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
So we are back from break, and we were first talking about Blake Shelton and his cover of All Red. I always want to say All Roy because that's a treat that I give Regina, and it just sounds so familiar in my brain, similar in my brain. And I just want to move on to another song that I can, give a little more history, because while All Red has history and connections, this song is a lot more connected and has a lot more history to it. And that song is How Much Is That Doggy in the Window? So it was actually a part of a series of novelty songs, and they were kind of like put into this umbrella term as doggy. And there were other songs that weren't related to dogs. It was like Pistol Packin' Mama by Bing Crosby, and I've Got a Lovely Bunch of Coconuts by Merv Griffin. So all of these songs, they were kind of like just novelty songs during that time period, like, again, 1930s-ish. And it kept on going And we then saw a version of Patti Page recording the song, and basically there are sounds of dogs barking in this version, and just it goes along perfectly with the music. Now, overall, it was a hit. Like, you get tired of your kids singing that song over and over again, but like at the time, like 1953, when she came out with that rendition, it went to #1 in the Billboard magazine chart for the United States, and it stayed there for 8 weeks. 8 weeks. So people liked this song. The song was also very widely popular, across a huge demographic. So it wasn't just kids that were listening to this song. It was parents too, people without kids. I mean, it is a very charming song. I use charming in a better way than when I used it for Blake Shelton's song. But there were kids that were yipping all the time, and then this is the most bizarre thing. Apparently, there were people like contacting Mercury Records, which was a record company that Patti Page was working with. There were people requesting requesting free puppies. And I don't know why exactly they decided to do that. It seems strange. Like, why don't they just go to, a store or something, or a shelter, even better. But, yeah, overall, like, even the American Kennel Club, like, their annual registrations, like, spiked 8% during that time period. And altogether, keep this in mind, Patti Page sold like 2 million copies of this song. And like, she didn't have a chance to really make a hit in the UK because there was some sort of delay, and another singer made her own rendition of it. But it's still, again, a very popular song. Like, it is part of our history. But overall, like, chart-wise in 1953, like, in the Australian singles chart, it peaked at #1. In the Radio Luxembourg sheet music chart, peaked at #1. UK singles chart, eventually when it did hit the UK, it peaked #9. And then Billboard bestsellers in stores for the United States, again, peaked at #1. So I keep on emphasizing that this song was very popular. I imagine it has a lot to do with just people being charmed by dogs and just little puppies. Like the video that I saw of Patti Page, singing this song. It was, there was a cute little puppy, and then the little barks in the background. Just it was basically a song to sell puppies. But there's definitely a legacy. But according to the rock historian Michael Oslin, people really liked the songs, but it led to, quote, a fervent embrace of rock and roll by 1955. So a lot of those songs were, like, very bland and squeaky clean, as he said, and it just kind of made people want to have something that had more edge to it and was vibrant, and it just, unfortunately, those docu-series songs just didn't cut it. So, basically, at that point when the older population started, like, thinking, oh, I need something more than this, like, it became a kid song. And that's perfectly fine. And the lyrics were reworked by someone called Isa Trapani in, like, 2004, and it just kept on going. And here's the really sad thing about this song. It definitely encourages people buying from a pet store. And at this point in our age, well, buying pets from stores is kind of frowned upon. Like, just kind of imagining the cruelty of just puppy farms and just maybe poor conditions for the dogs, and I just don't know. It was innocent enough in 1953. It just kind of shook Patti Page in a way that she eventually, in 2009, made a new version of this song, and it had a title, "Do You See That Doggy in the Shelter?" So she was really emphasizing the adoption of animals from these shelters. And she actually gave the rights to that song to the Humane Society of the United States. So she felt that the cost or the price to pay for dogs that were in pet stores and went through the puppy mill process, it just was too high of a cost for her. Like, there was a huge problem that she saw, and she didn't want to support it. So she had that song to really push that message. And, well, by her death in 2013, the Humane Society actually had like a eulogy for her online, and it basically said, well, it says, we remember her fondly for her compassion for animals, which is a fantastic thing to have the Humane Society say to you, because, well, you're kind of one of them at that point. But I have to say that generally I find this song a little bit difficult to listen to because, well, just kids playing the same song all the time. But I do like how this song evolved. Like, this one, the history is very clear here. So, at first you're thinking, oh, we should buy puppies from the store. And now there's this, change into, well, puppies from stores buying puppies from stores just really encourages a cruel breeding process of these animals. So we really shouldn't do it. And I found that kind of comforting. And I will say that overall, even with the Lita Rosa version of the song that became popular in the UK, it's still a very meaningful song, I guess, in that sense. And it still has a legacy. It also has a nice legacy of, being parodied a few times, and just, I can't even say, how, there's one called, How Much Is That Window in the Doggy? And it was just a strange kind of, parody of it, and I love to see more of those. Anyway, we have another commercial break coming, and I hope that you guys are able to really enjoy this next part because, well, it is a song that I actually didn't really know about until I found it, online when I was researching for this podcast episode. And that song is Cracker Jack by Dolly Parton, our precious Dolly Parton. And, well, you'll get to hear what that song is about and how it basically made me cry sad, and happy tears.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
We are back, and that last segment was a really interesting take on history in a sense, but mostly just kind of seeing the growth of a song becoming, first being a song that really encourages buying pets from the pet store, and then just kind of changing into this this message of, hey, don't go to the pet store, go to a shelter. And I just find that very very hard hitting, because you still know people that go to pet stores to get their pets. But increasingly, you definitely see people really jumping onto the bandwagon of, going to adopt and not to shop. That is definitely a benefit of music, right? Like, sometimes music can really make you feel something and have the drive to, to do something. A call to action, basically. And I would say that this next song that we're going to be talking about is something that is more there to make you feel something, and maybe possibly do something differently, but it kind of depends on the individual. And anyway, this song is called Cracker Jack by Dolly Parton, and to be honest, I had never heard of this song up until a few days ago when I was doing research for this episode, and I was just very surprised. I decided, I really want to listen to this song, and I wish that part of me wishes that I didn't, and then another part of me is like, oh man, my life is changed by this song. And the song is actually autobiographical for Dolly Parton, and it's basically a story of just her unconditional love for this dog named Cracker Jack, and how this dog just loved her as well. And I think that is very touching. It actually, it shows a narrative, or refers to a narrative, basically, where, she finds this dog, and she starts growing up with this dog, and she's just loving this dog, and everything is wonderful, and she thinks that this is probably the best dog in the world. And, you reach the end, and you suddenly realize, as, by how she's wording things, that, Cracker Jack has passed away. And it's not, it's not the entire, of course, at this point, she, it's been, how many years? Dogs don't live that long. No, I mean, as in, she doesn't even really directly say that Cracker Jack has passed away. And I think that says something. I think it definitely says something about Dolly Parton and how she copes with grief. And this song came out in 1974, and just, I imagine that song is still, has a lot of special meaning to her. I mean, every single thing that she has written has really shown a piece of herself. But we're not talking about Dolly Parton, we're talking about Cracker Jack, right? So, mostly how people cope with pets that, eventually pass away. And it's basically, this song is like a kind of a memorial for him. It's in an album, people listen to it, that is her remembering Cracker Jack. And she's celebrating his life. She's not mentioning, he died. It was more like she said, the only reference that you get of Cracker Jack being dead is, he's in my memories now, and that, that's how it's going to be. And it's such a powerful message for people that have their own pets. It really encourages us when that awful time does happen. It's okay to be sad about it, but it's also very important to commemorate and celebrate your little buddies. And I know that I need to work on that. Ever since my last dog, Rhodey, died, it was very difficult, and just this song inspired me to really want to do something for him. Not even, I can't do the usual stuff that I used to do with him, but I could, and this is something that I was inspired to do. Maybe I could paint a picture of him. Maybe I can write a poem about him. Maybe, just maybe, I could talk about him on my episode of a podcast, I guess. But, it's basically taking the time to really remember this pet of yours. And I don't mean to be a little downer, but, this song is very special in that way. Again, focus on the memories that you have, not on the loss. And I think Dolly Parton definitely has it down. And I would say that in general, I probably would have heard of this song had I watched her special on Netflix, Heartstrings. Because she has an episode that's Cracker Jack in it. And it's, basically this episode of a young girl and her dog. And, just like the song, and it's very touching, and I probably would have cried during this episode, actually. But, she definitely thought that, quote, there was this one special dog that meant so much to her. And it's, it's also the same for other people. Like, you have this one special pet that you will always remember, you've had the best time in the world with, and has been your companion for, ever. And I think that's what kind of makes them a bit immortal in that way. Like, maybe they're not around anymore, but there's definitely an influence here. And I would say, again, try to celebrate it. And in addition to what Dolly Parton says about, this special animal, like, she goes on to say, it's no coincidence that dog is spelled God backwards, because, they love you unconditionally. And it's just a very wholesome song that I can't get over. It's very beautiful. And I would definitely recommend people looking up this song, maybe going onto Netflix and watching Heartstrings. You have the time, I can imagine. Or you at least have the flexibility, possibly. And I would say, watch it, listen to it, and just feel the feelings. Take that moment to feel, just the love of an animal, and learn how to really remember and keep them in your heart, basically, is what I'm saying. Also, just a comment on Dolly Parton. She looked so young on that album that had Cracker Jack in it. But I will say another thing. In the article that I read from digitalspy.com, I am just looking at a picture of Dolly Parton, and there's this small dog right next to her, and Dolly Parton has her guitar, across her chest, across her torso, and she's just looking down at this dog so lovingly, and you can just see that, you can just feel that warmth, that warmth you're supposed to feel when you're listening to that song. And I am so sure that everything about that is so intentional, just to make us feel feelings. Gosh darn it. I guess I need to feel some feelings now. I gotta watch it. But now we're up to another commercial break, and I wish I could talk more about Cracker Jack and Dolly Parton. I'll probably be reading more about some of Dolly Parton's songs to see if she has any other pet songs about Cracker Jack. That'd be really interesting. But next, we are actually going to be talking about another song that, like How Much Is That Doggy in the Window, is also a song that we are very familiar with. And it plays on the radio over and over and over again during the holiday seasons. And the holiday season. And I'm sure that by me talking about it and thinking, how does this have anything to do with pets? Well, the song, I Want a Hippopotamus for Christmas. And it is a song that I have grown to love and to hate. So you'll hear more about this after the commercial break.
Is weird, odd, strange, or just plain bizarre is really your cup of tea? Then, the Golden State Media Concepts Weird News Podcast will give you that fix. Can't believe it? Well, listen for yourself as we deliver the strangest news you definitely won't find on CNN or Fox. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Weird News Podcast.
And we are back to talking about our songs of the pets. So we've talked about, let's see, Crackerjack. We've talked about How Much Is That Doggy in the Window, and we also talked about Ol' Red. So now we're going to look at an exotic pet here. And this song is called I Want a Hippopotamus for Christmas. And I know that individuals that listen to Christmas music, you know that song. And your child probably knows that song. And they have performed it for you at least once. These are just guesses, though. So, I Want a Hippopotamus for Christmas. I don't want to break into song, but it's a Christmas novelty song, and it was written by John Rocks. It was performed by a 10-year-old girl named Gayla Peavy, and this was in 1953. Basically, the song did really well. It's super popular, which is why it's still being played to this very day. But it peaked at number 24 of the Billboard magazine pop charts in December. So, I think that does pretty good, and I can imagine that at the time, and even, now, Gayla Peavy is probably extremely proud of that accomplishment. But again, when the song was released nationally, it actually shot up to the top of the charts, and the Oklahoma City Zoo actually acquired a baby hippo named Matilda. So she was filmed, not Matilda, but that would be so cute. A baby hippopotamus performing in a late night show or something. But let's back up, pedal back. Let's talk about Gayla Peavy. So she was performing this song on the Ed Sullivan Show. I don't know what that is. It seems like an old person show. So already you know that I'm too young for the Ed Sullivan Show, but just old enough for Blake Shelton's Ol' Red. So I'll leave it there. So you can actually see a video of this performance online. I still really want to see it, but I just don't know if I could listen to the song again. Maybe I can put it on mute. It's not time for that song right now. But this song and this performance was allegedly a fundraiser to bring the city zoo a hippo, but in 2007, years later, in 2007, Peavy actually said that the song was not recorded as a fundraiser. It was honestly a local promoter picked up this popular song and then launched a campaign to present Peavy with an actual hippopotamus on Christmas, which is cute. How sweet. And, the campaign succeeded eventually, but she donated the hippo to the zoo. Why? Because, hippopotamus live for, nearly 50 years, and Peavy, at this point, when she got this hippo, well, she was like 73 years old. That thing is going to outlive her. So, she was then, present to acquire pygmy hippopotamus in 2017. And that is a small hippopotamus. I'm looking at this, which is native to the forests and swamps of West Africa, primarily Liberia, with small populations in Guinea and the Ivory Coast. So, why did she accept this one but not the actual hippopotamus? I don't know. Maybe lifespan? Nah, couldn't be. I imagine that by the end of it, she, again, donated the pygmy hippopotamus to the Oklahoma City Zoo, which is perfectly fine. And I just find this song cute but annoying, and it's almost as horrible to me as listening to All I Want for Christmas Is My Two Front Teeth, which we're not going to talk about because that, not pets related, and also I can't handle that song. But depending on my mood, I can deal with the hippopotamus song. I just wish that I was able to really block it out when I can, because I've literally heard it about 5 times in one day over the radio, which makes me not want to listen to the radio at all, but I do it anyway. Still, imagine, a 10-year-old girl saying, I want a hippopotamus for Christmas, and then someone trying to give you a hippopotamus for Christmas when you're 10 years old. That seems... Okay, so I already talked about responsibility of children and their parents when it comes to pets. Do you really think a 10-year-old is going to be able to handle a hippopotamus? No. Mom and Dad will deal with the hippopotamus. So, I think at the point where PV was like, okay, well, I'm 73 years old. It's going to outlive me. And also, you can hear you could probably tell in the back of her mind she was thinking, I'm too old to deal with this. What do I have to do to take care of this animal? And maybe when I was, in my mid-20s or, 30s or, not 40s. 40s would be too much, I think, at that point. Because, life. But when you are, at a peak age and you're like, oh man, I could definitely take care of the hippo. That'd be awesome. Well, that would probably be it. But that window has passed for PV, and that is okay. At least she has a pygmy hippopotamus, right? Anyway, I keep on going on about this, but this always goes against what I have to say about, exotic animals really don't belong in a home, in a residential area. Mostly because, wild animals are a bit unpredictable at times. Well, both predictable and unpredictable. It's a weird combination, I think. But I'm sure that 10-year-old PV and the writer of it weren't really aware of how dangerous a hippopotamus can be, especially a full-grown one. They're just thinking, oh my gosh, it's so cute. Problem is, cute does not mean that they can't be dangerous. And I would say, go ahead, look up some facts on the hippopotamus, and you'll see what I'm talking about. You don't want that as a pet. It's a cute song, though, and I can, appreciate it that way. And at least it's only played once a year. Once in during the semester, during the season. Sorry, I'm thinking about school and students right now. But gosh, I can't even imagine my students being able to take care of a hippopotamus, and they're adults. I don't even think I could do that. Well, props to anyone that can, handle a hippopotamus, but I stand firmly on the idea that you should not have a hippo for Christmas for, as a pet. And also, Christmas is the worst time for dogs, cats, hippos, because chances are the novelty of having a pet, leads to kids giving up because it's too much responsibility, and then they're put into shelters. So I would say don't give a living thing to any child or any person during the holiday season. You have to, again, like what I said in one of my past episodes, like you have to have a conversation with someone before you make a decision like that. But anyway, I would say hippos are cute from a distance, just like how a rhino is cute from a distance. And yes, I said rhino; they are cute, but I don't think pets would be a good idea there. And shame on you, John Rocks, for setting up that expectation that kids need to have a hippo for Christmas. And, well, we're going to start off with our next break, and that is going to be followed by our last. Is it our last? Yes, it is our last animal song. And it is the song Delilah by Queen. And, man, that is a very interesting song, to say the least. One of the interesting facts about Freddie Mercury is that he adored his cats, loved them to death. So, I mean, this one will be a little bit interesting, and I definitely wish I could write cool songs about my cat. So, we'll be back from our commercial break after a few minutes.
The Golden State Media Concepts Travel Podcast, the show that gives you advice on everything travel. We explore places you've always wanted to go, as well as giving tips for traveling in those places. We'll give you advice on the best sites for travel tips, information, and discounts. Join us as we travel the world, explore cultures, and meet new people. The Golden State Media Concepts Travel Podcast has got you covered. Download the GSMC Travel Podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
And we are back. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And we were just talking about hippos, Christmas, and that song that really gets on my nerves sometimes. And we've also talked about, essentially dogs and people's relationships with dogs and, just their love for them, which is great. And the thing is that we haven't really spoken much about cats. And my first question for you, and this will be an interesting question. Did you know that Freddie Mercury loved his cats? And I say cats as in plural. Because, well, I'll go ahead and say that one of these cats was actually inspiration for the song that we're going to be talking about, and that is Delilah. Now, some background on Freddie Mercury and his cats before we start talking about Delilah. Now, one of his best friends introduced him to owning cats. He got 2 cats and he named them Tom and Jerry, which was very cute, and it just kind of hooked him into just getting cats because he loved them so much. And just, he treated his cats like children, and he eventually ended up with 10 cats of his own. And so there was, Tom and Jerry, and then on top of that there was Tiffany, Dorothy, Delilah, Goliath, Lily, Miko, Oscar, and Romeo. And they were his family, absolutely his family. And, he apparently would cook, a nice little dinner for them, of chicken or fish. Sometimes they would have, their kibble, but it would just be very, kind of like an occasion for that. And he just did so much for his cats. there was a rumor started that he had, like, in his London mansion, room for each one of his cats, just so that they could have it. I don't know if that's completely true, but, like, he would always check on his cats whenever he was on tour, and just on, like, for example, Christmas, he would fill their stockings with treats and toys, and even in addition to that, Freddie Mercury's fans would send him, like, cat toys so that he can give them to the cats. And can you imagine all the fans that would do that for him? I mean, that's a lot, and that's kind of spoiling those cats rotten. And, well, to be honest, if they came in boxes too, those cats probably preferred the boxes over the actual toy. I can definitely say that with confidence that Eisen would definitely do that. Now, in addition to him treating them like children and, like, just kind of letting them do what they want for the most part, like, he, even made, like, a devotion in 1985 for his cats. And he dedicated his solo album, Mr. Bad Guy, to, quote, "My cat Jerry, also Tom, Oscar, and Tiffany, and all the cat lovers across the universe. Screw everybody else." So, any chance that he got, he would, like, include, those cats in it. So even in another album, like a particular music video that he did for the Innuendo album, this song was called "These Are the Days of Our Lives," and while he doesn't directly talk about his cats, he does have a custom-made vest that has images of his cats on. So that's how much he loved his cats, just expressing his love for him. If I had, like, a t-shirt that had my cat Eisen on it, I would just get it in a heartbeat, pretty much. But as he of course, he grew very, very ill, and he started to really focus on, well, he always focused on Delilah the cat, pretty much his favorite cat. And Delilah was there for him during his final months, basically. And she gave him love and attention, and at many points he would, like, spend so much time trying to make a watercolor painting of Delilah, and just one of his final actions of his life was stroking Delilah's fur, and, just kind of getting that kind of comfort at the very end, which I find very, very sweet. Now, not to be we're not going to end on that note. We're going to talk a little bit about Delilah, which some people actually did not like, because she seemed mean to him, but Freddie Mercury, ended up penning a song for Delilah. And it's really funny because the beginning of the song is really focused with, just Delilah, and people just start assuming, oh, Delilah is a woman. And, that's fine. There's a part, it starts kind of escalating, though. So at one point, he's talking about her claws and her bite, and we can, maybe he's just using figurative language to describe this woman. Well, okay. Then, up the escalation here, and then Delilah is peeing all over his Chippendale suite. Well, Delilah, I think you might have a problem there. Is that medical, or is it just an attitude problem? So you start really wondering about Delilah. She seems like she has a lot of problems going on with her. So, again, we continue on through the song, and then we are met with Freddie Mercury meowing in the song. And for those of you who probably knew that Freddie Mercury was essentially a cat lady, well, you would be, like, making that connection, like, oh, that's amazing. He's writing about Delilah. But for those of you who do not know about that, or did not know about that, it would be really confusing. It's like, why is he meowing? And then you'd have to, do extra research on Freddie Mercury and his cats, pretty much, to understand what was going on. But It's a very enjoyable song. I actually kind of want to connect it to Dolly Parton's Cracker Jack. Now, in this song, Delilah doesn't pass away, but it still shows a very strong connection that people could have with their pets, and just the comfort that they get from them, the growth that you have with them, and just the overall joy of having them. Now, with every other pet that we've talked about, I mean, Delilah is the one that we get a real image of what her attitude is in the lyrics. Like, with Dolly Parton's song, you know that Cracker Jack was a sweet dog. But aside from that, we don't really know much about him. Like, the general, oh, he was loyal and he was sweet, all that kind of stuff. Hey, we know for a fact that Delilah was kind of a jerk, but he loved her anyway. So, that, I don't even know, like, she seems like she was a princess, and then she got every single thing that she wanted, which, I mean, all cats kind of deserve that. All pets deserve that. I'm sorry. Sometimes I lean towards cats, depending on my mood. But, yeah, absolutely. She was the princess of the house, and he would do basically anything for her, I imagine. But I find it just, that final image of him just, in bed, ill, and just kind of slowly passing, having that cat on his lap. And, I mean, I can't say that I would like to imagine that, but I can, at least relate to the idea of, when you're hurt and you're crying, your cat or your pet is going to come to you, either be very supportive and, cuddle you, or just kind of paw at you trying to figure out what's wrong. Regina's the one that, sometimes cuddles, sometimes paws at you. And Cookie is actually really good at comforting, and so is Eisen. We have a good set of dogs, actually. But anyway, this entire thing with cats in comfort, dogs in comfort, you get to really see, like, their personalities throughout these songs that we've talked about, except for, how much is that doggy in the window, but we still do see evolution in there. But anyway, we are going to have our final break, and when we get back, we'll actually start talking about this fantastic Thanksgiving adventure that we got to watch a family have, from last year. So stay tuned for that. It is known as The Great Escape.
Want to find out what movies to go see? Then check out the GSMC Movie Podcast. It's your ticket to the latest movies, whether it's a new blockbuster event, romantic, comedy, or action flick. This show has got it all covered. They talk some what to go see now. Don't bother. What's hot on Netflix and everything in between. That's GSMCpodcast.com/movie-podcast. When it's all about the movies, it has to be this new show. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Welcome again. So, we are back from the break, and, just kind of, we were talking about a lot of songs that I found, interesting that also involved pets. So I figured that, let's take a break from the pets and have a moment to talk about A Great Escape and a few other escapes that I've witnessed to in my life. But, this was back during Thanksgiving, this past year 19, and this is when we had Cookie and Reggie. Reggie was still a puppy and like a smaller puppy, very excitable still. And I was just in my kitchen cooking for the Thanksgiving meal, and then, I saw a man, like, run down the street. Like, not on the sidewalk, like, just down the street, and there was, like, a desperation in it. And I was like, okay, what's going on? And I start hearing people, like, shouting and, outside. So I decided, okay, let me see what's going on. Maybe I can help. Well, I step outside. My neighbor is standing outside with, like, a handful of treats. And she's also calling for something. And I look down the road, and there is a Siberian Husky just trotting about, enjoying himself. And, initially it's kind of funny and cute, but, I don't think that the owners thought that. So I tried to help out by, calling for the dog and just taking out a treat too, because I had, like, a pocket full of treats. But it didn't really, do much, because this dog was just so excited to be outside and just roaming. And I eventually had to go inside because Reggie and Cookie were just barking obnoxiously, and it was not helping the situation at all. So I managed to get them to calm down and just kind of, get back to my cooking, honestly. I didn't see the ending of it. I just know that the Husky had, like, gone down towards the little downtown area that we have in our city. And I just, I hoped that the dog was okay, but I think after a little bit, the dog finally gave in and, went home. But that's something that I've actually noticed a lot with Huskies, and I've read, stories about this too, but Huskies are actually really good escape artists, and if they are bored, they will want to go and explore, have fun, and just kind of, be. And I don't want to say that the owners were not doing a good job with him, but, maybe he wasn't as active as he would have liked. And maybe, he was just curious and he saw something running around and he just bolted when the front door opened. Who knows? But, the dog was outside, and, the poor owner was just running back and forth, panting the entire time. I felt so bad for him. But, it makes me think about, just randomly, how Indiana has kind of become the place where Huskies probably shouldn't be living because of how warm it's been getting lately. And, Huskies usually prefer, like, colder climates, because of their, their really thick fur, and, that's just kind of their heritage, basically. But this also brings me brings me to another escape attempt that wasn't actually, an escape on our end, but like another person. And this was in Florida, actually. And this dog was an Alaskan Malamute. So, and also this was like in June, if I remember correctly. And this dog was just really big and just caused a lot of stress for us because, well, we didn't know who this dog belonged to. He was panting, he seemed really hot, he didn't want to be anywhere, and he was so gracious whenever we let him inside to just kind of cool down. Because, again, the fur of an Alaskan Malamute is super thick, and, like, he was very floofy. But my brother decided to at least take care of the dog, see if there was a microchip, and took him to the vet for that reason. And then the people, contacted us because, well, we have their dog. And they came, picked the dog up. It didn't really say anything to us, but again, I think that the dog came from, like, across the highway, essentially. It's like, how did this dog escape? I just don't understand. And why would this dog want to go outside in the heat where he's just gonna get super hot? I don't know. But an even more interesting escape would be, if the dog, like, had climbed over the fence or something like that. I've seen videos of Rhodesian Ridgebacks climbing over, like, the like a stone fence, essentially. And I just kind of find it amazing, and I want to see more of this. I definitely don't want to see Regina, like, crawling under our chain link fence, because that's horrifying. Like, oh my god, my baby. And I just, I just kind of think about, well, how also Cookie tries to escape sometimes when she has the chance. But she doesn't try to run away anymore. She, actually, the other day, we had something delivered to us, and as we had the door open, like, Cookie apparently just slowly walked outside and started sniffing the delivery driver for some reason. And that was all she went, but in the past she would try to, like, run across the street because she was just so excited. And just, when Cookie is free and has no leash and no concerns of the world, which is kind of true for her all the time, she will do whatever she wants, and she doesn't care if it gets her killed. She's not a very bright dog, but she is a sweet dog. And, I mean, to what lengths do we go to protect our dogs? Now, I know that some people use, like, shock collars and, like, invisible fences. And I know someone who somehow managed to train their dogs to, like, stop at a point on their driveway, so that they just kind of stop at, like, a pretend gate, pretty much, and they don't go any further than that. And I've seen it done with, like, a Great Dane before and a Mastiff. Like, it's amazing to see, like, how, if you really put in the effort, you can train your dog to not escape, or to not accidentally escape. It's very interesting, and I should definitely try that. It takes a lot of devotion. I mean, I'm at home for a while now, so I may as well just, do that training with Regina at least. Cookie sleeps all the time now, so she's old. We don't need to worry about her. She probably is not going to be in the mood to, escape anytime soon anyway. But, these escapes kind of say a lot, like, about what the animals need at some point. Like, Eisen used to try to escape because he felt that his territory was being encroached upon by stray cats before we moved to our new place. And, I imagine that whenever Reggie tries to crawl under the fence to our neighbor's dogs, she just really is like, I want to play. I want to play with other dogs. Cookie is just way too boring, and she's always sleeping. And then, well, Cookie, I don't really know about her whenever she tries to escape, but she does try, and it's kind of hilarious when she does. But again, it's not funny whenever Eisen or Regina try to escape, because, well, Eisen is a fast boy, and he knows how to live on the streets. He was actually, we actually found him as a kitten in a box where someone just kind of left, like, this litter of kittens, on, like, a busy road. And we found him, and he became a part of the family then. But, that's the story of Eisen, and he's fine. He has a lot of instincts when it comes to the outside world, and it's, that's the thing that worries me a lot when, some dogs escape. Like, what kind of instincts do they have at some point after being domesticated for so long? You don't really know. There are some dogs that'll be able to come home, and then there are other dogs that just kind of wander. And I guess that's fine. But I think making sure that the needs of your pets are met is very important to keep them from going somewhere that, they don't need to be going to, or just kind of slipping out of your grasp and, exploring the world, without you at all nearby. So I think when it comes to escaping, we need to reflect more on what we are doing as pet parents, and not about the pet being bad for it, because they always have their reasons for doing what they're doing. imagining things that Eisen does. We've had him for such a long time. I have so many examples for Eisen. But, whenever Eisen is displeased and he wants to eat, he will chew through wires, and that's his signal. It's like, hey, I'm upset. You need to feed me right now. Or other times he's like, hey, you need to play with me. And, following those messages from your pets is very important, and will keep them happy so that they will stay with you rather than go seek out what they need elsewhere. Anyway, that is really just about our episode, and I really hope that, you gain some knowledge and you have a new list of music to listen to, actually. And, again, I'm going to thank you for listening to the GSMC Pets Podcast, which was brought to you today by the GSMC Podcast Network. I would like it if you guys would please remember to subscribe to the show and also write us a nice review. We always love it when you do, and it really helps us. And also, if you can please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, that would be great. But for now, thank you and have a good night.
You've been listening to the GSMC Pets Podcast, part of the GSMC Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all of the shows from the GSMC Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, from business news to weird news. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's podcast.